Thanks for joining me, Jake. All right, so obviously I'm joining you in Australia, which is amazing. So tell me, who are you?
Yeah, so before I'd like to begin, the common practice in Australia before we commence with any meeting is to acknowledge the traditional owners. So I'd like to do that today, if I may.
Yeah,
I'd like to begin by acknowledging and paying my respects to the Ngunnawal people, the traditional custodians of the land in which I'm joining you from today. I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past and present and emerging, and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, in addition to all other Indigenous peoples who may be joining us today from other parts of the world. So to go back to your question, my name is Jake Naylor, and my professional role is Assistant Director of Physical Education and Sport in the ACT Education Directorate here in Australia. On a personal note, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a father. I'm the eldest of three boys, and we all grew up in a small rural community of a couple of hundred people with my mother and father. The community had and continues to have strong emphasis on community involvement and volunteerism. Both of these things certainly have rubbed off on me at a very young age and have stayed with me until my adulthood. After graduating high school, I've moved away to study human movement and biomechanics and teaching at Charles Sturt University. It was there I was first introduced to inclusive sports, more importantly and more specifically coaching and teaching practices too. After receiving my couple of degrees, I commenced teaching in several rural school communities across New South Wales before moving to the ACT to continue and advance my teaching career. In addition to all this, I'm now most importantly a husband to my beautiful wife and a father to my three fantastic children. My eldest two are 6 and 4, and my youngest is only 6 weeks old.
Fantastic. So I mean, as I say, Jake Naylor, what's inspired you to become the person you are? I mean, who or what inspired you through this journey?
Yeah, so a lot of people sort of inspired me along my way, but I've written some notes. I'm scrolling through to have a look at some of the notes now that I've got here in front of me. But first and foremost, my family have inspired me to do what I do, and they gave me room to grow and make mistakes on my own. They guided me to self-reflect on my achievements and support me to personally grow and to personally grow when things didn't actually go my way, which was really great. They inspired me to give back to my community and value what I have. They spend time with me, which is a simple thing, which either reading books to me, helping me with my homework, or driving me to countless basketball practice sessions and being present. Present has truly inspired me to become the person I am. The reason I moved to inclusive education is because of them. Their encouragement has enabled me to succeed in my career and has also enabled me to follow in my late grandfather's footsteps. My grandfather was a welder by trade, but he was also a night school teacher for students with a disability. I was very fortunate enough as a young person to sit in on lessons with him and to see his kind-hearted nature, his patience, and his ability to structure activities to best enable his students to achieve is something I know I've inherited from him, and I'm forever grateful for this. Okay. I've got others who inspire me are all the other educators and coaches I've worked with over the years. I've learned so much from them, and I know I'll continue to. And finally, most importantly, people that inspire me are my students and my athletes. They inspire me to strive to be the best version I can be. And I know sharing my skills with them and empowering them to achieve is highly gratifying to me and is something that has become extremely addictive.
So, obviously saying that and, telling us about everything that you've done, etc. What motivates you and inspires you to motivate others?
Yeah, see, I think back to the young person I was when I was a young person going through school. School was difficult for me, and I found refuge. I found a safe place in physical education, and I was able to learn all the basics. Yes, throw, catch, run, jump. Yes, those basic elements, but other aspects upon physical education that really benefited me was the social interaction. it was getting out and playing with others and helping others to understand we all have differences and abilities that we bring to a particular situation. And for me, I'd love to see that, love to know that I'm passing that on to others. And through my work with educators and with students with a disability, I know that that's something that I really hope that I can motivate others to acknowledge differences, embrace differences, because we can all contribute in different ways and fashions, which is perfect.
Okay, so I mean, saying that, why is inclusion so important now, especially, obviously in Australia, in the UK, and globally?
Yeah.
What is the most important thing why is that inclusion and diversity so important?
See, inclusion is an interesting one for me. A couple of weeks ago, I went to a ceremony, an award ceremony, which was the Inclusion Awards, and I was lucky enough to walk home with an award that evening. And the whole evening was discussing what inclusion is, and I was amazed to sit back and to refer to and have a look at so many different elements of what inclusion is. And when I sit back and refer to it and look at it, I honestly believe inclusion is everything. Inclusion is the integral element to a successful community. And with the world that we are in now, like, we're talking to each other on different sides of the planet, but we are a community. We do very similar things in our own professions, but we are a community, and I feel that is the integral part of what makes us successful as a human race, is embracing inclusion and embracing difference and supporting that and looking at it, because it can increase that appreciation, acceptance of individual differences. It does provide opportunities to develop friendships, develop partnerships, and I've got friends all over the world now, that some with and some without disabilities, that I've learned so much from and continually touch base with, which has been lovely. As I mentioned, in my childhood, my reason for participating in physical education was, yes, physical, but also the social, and you can build those networks and social interactions through an inclusive pathway, which is really, really lovely. Some of my work I do in schools is working with other educational settings and to provide disability awareness training. So working with other teenagers to be aware of the types of disabilities that are present within your school, and these are ways that we can support you to engage with the students, and providing opportunities to work alongside of one another. It's all well and good for me as a teacher to deliver content to students, but when it comes from a peer, it's a whole different dynamic. And I'm providing that peer modelling increases increases social interaction, behavioural skills, amazing. So lots of different things from there. From a PE point of view and a sports coaching point of view, if you look at inclusion, it enhances skill acquisition. Totally. If we have inclusive model and we have so many very different abilities in one setting, we have opportunities to work alongside one another, opportunities to learn from different people and different experiences, our skill act is only going to improve. And I do a lot of coaching in athletics environments, and I've got young men and women that are throwing, running, jumping, all varied abilities, but skill acquisition has gone through the roof when we've got young men and women with a disability playing and working alongside young men and women without, and that's only going to increase participation rates, which I'm all for.
Fantastic. So, I mean, thinking about that then, and obviously, everything that you've done, obviously, what's your finest moment or your achievement?
Yeah, see, I mentioned the award that I got lately, and that was lovely. That was really a nice way for me to be acknowledged and to have my work to be publicly announced. But it's not the reason why we do this as coaches, as teachers, and like that's one thing. And to be honest, that award's sitting in my spare room. I'm reluctant to hang it up. It's probably going to end up in the cupboard somewhere because I just it doesn't sit well. But I love the acknowledgement. That fondest moments, like first starting small, and it can be the simplest thing. From a fondest moment may be a smile from a student. If they are smiling, they are happy, they are engaged in activity, that's a tick. That's perfect for me. Receiving compliments from parents, caregivers, any medical practitioners that are working with my students to say we've seen enhancements, improvements with their athletic performance, with their strength, with their cognitive development. They're all amazing, and I keep all those. And I recommend to any coach, any teacher out there, keep those mementos and chuck them in a folder and look at them when you're an old man, and reflect upon a career that you've had, because you do make impacts. As I mentioned, I work with a number of student mentors, and positives or fond moments when they have success, when they plan a lesson and they deliver a lesson. But now I've been doing it for a long period of time. I've got young mentors and they're now going into teaching qualifications and studying, coaching teams, and they are working with athletes with a disability in their own right. So now touching base with them and meeting them at sporting carnivals and seeing them carry on some of the skills that I passed on to them as a young person is really, really lovely. Working with educators to develop programs and deliver workshops has been lovely around some of the strategies and techniques for students with a disability, which has been really, really lovely. But hearing success stories of what they have implemented in their own school settings or implemented in their own coaches has been really, really lovely. But to think back to one sort of key moment or fond moment for me is end of last year for International Day of People with a Disability, the Education Directorate approached me and said, well, can we look at some delivering some workshops for teachers and workshops for students, how we can increase awareness of disability, how can we increase the participation. So I developed a program. I went into 12 schools and we delivered a program based around Paralympic sports. And those workshops, students played activities like bocce, seated volleyball, and so on. It was lovely. It was absolutely fantastic. But the idea behind that was I went in and delivered, but I had my students working alongside me. So I had my mentor students. Yeah. I had my students with a disability helping to deliver those activities. The final session that I ran was with my daughter's class. My daughter was a kindergarten student back then, and she pleasingly grabbed the equipment and worked alongside my peer mentors and my students that happened to have a disability. So we had mainstream, we had specialist setting, we had age discrepancy, age differences, all working alongside one another, all having that impact or that passion for playing an activity. And I think that for me, I'll always remember that activity of working alongside all those collective little pieces that I put together to deliver a program, which was really lovely.
Okay, so I mean, thinking about, obviously we're in these challenging times, and the amazing work that medical staff and key workers are doing on the front line, and obviously these talks are about motivation and inspiration to everybody. What would your message be to obviously people at home, the medical staff and the key workers who are out there now?
Yeah, I first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that is working in these challenging times. I've been at home from work. I'm doing the role of at-home parents, but also educator to my students out there in the Directorate. But for the people that are working on the front line day in, day out, for the families that have been broken up because of this, we've got husbands, mothers, fathers, whoever, staying away from families so they don't bring home the virus to their families. Like my heart goes out to those people, and I really thank you for the support that you've given us. For everybody, what I really would like to say is that to motivate, to help people, to get them through this challenging time, I can't stress the importance of staying connected. Stay connected with, yes, the wider community, with people that you commonly work with, interact with, converse with. Yes, all important, but also stay connected with the people that you are living with, spending this time with. I've been very, very blessed in my life, but I'm trying to reframe this tricky time of isolation, and I'm spending that time with my family and embracing that opportunity to spend time with them and to learn from them and to really touch base with them. Other things that I'm doing that maybe benefit to others is definitely keep up exercise. Try different exercise as well. My kids and I have been trying meditation and yoga, which is something that's still very, very new to me, but it's helping us to get through this process. My kids love colouring in, and I've been colouring in with the best of them the last few months. So yeah, get into something artistic if that helps the cause. Other things that I've been looking at doing, and I think it's going to be on my to-do list, is continue to engage with some professional learning. There's lots of online courses at the moment that are popping up here, there and everywhere. Sports focus, education focus, whatever it may be. Enroll in something and keep that mind ticking over to get us through the process. If you don't want to physically enroll in something, check out podcasts and TED Talks and things like that. Keep the mind ticking over and doing different things. Other things that I've been looking at is start planning for what life will be like after this. Plan a holiday, plan something different to do. And look for those online. If you're getting online, look for those charity organisations that are doing good. Look for organisations that are raising money for our healthcare workers. Look for organisations that are working frantically to make hand sanitizer or toilet paper or whatever it may be, and donate to those. And anything that you can do to help boost morale and share that goodwill will get us through this time, I have no doubt.
Thank you. Okay, and finally, obviously, I always trying to finish with a quote. So if you could think of a quote which obviously supports motivation and inspiration during this time, what would that quote be and why?
Yeah, right. That's an interesting one. I think back to lots of different things that I've done over my years, but I was given a quote when I was very, very young, and it was from the basketball realms. I come from a basketball experience. I grew up in the era of Michael Jordan and that type of thing, and loved watching those guys play and have played throughout my years. There was a quote that came from basketball field, but I don't really know who coined it, whose phrase it was or anything like that. But it was, the quote was, "Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best." And I think in this time when we're got a lot of time to work on ourselves and self-improvement and acknowledging who we are and what we do, let's try to self-improve. Let's try and make ourselves the best version of ourselves that we can be, and spend some time really working towards making our human race, the people that we work with, the people that we live with, better off after this experience. This is an experience that we can learn from. This is an experience that we can grow from. And I'm absolutely itching to get outside and have a game with my kids and my students and everybody else again. And I know that will come. It may happen tomorrow. It may happen in weeks' time. Who knows? But I know that we can do it as a community, a worldwide community, and we've got some fantastic people looking after us, and I've got every faith in they'll be able to kick some goals for us, which is great.
Thank you very much. That it's such a pleasure to meet you, and say hello, even though we're miles apart and thousands of miles away from different parts of the world. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to stop recording. So thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.